this is going to be, I hate it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, Saloni, congratulations on the 760. You said you were feeling relieved, right?
Yes, Dhananjay. Thank you so much, firstly. But yeah, super relieved. As you know, I gave the GMAT, wasn't happy with the result, and this is the score I needed for the schools I'm applying
I
to.
know.
So
Yeah.
super relieved.
So I think we talk a lot about hyper-specific improvement plans and the programs that we run here at eGMAT.
Mhm.
A lot of people come up to me and say, "Oh my God, I take it with a pinch of salt. I don't really
Yeah.
believe that stuff." You came to us with a very, very high score to begin with. You came to us with a 730, and your goal was to, of course, improve on that 730. And not a lot of people know this, but that improvement takes a lot of effort to really understand where's the person who's already so awesome going wrong, and then
Mhm.
fix that one by one. So take me through the plan that we worked on when you came on board, and how did that process work?
Got it. So DJ, as you mentioned, I came in with a 730, right? I used, the OG, I'd used like Manhattan and all your other prep materials. So I really didn't know where I had to, or the specific areas I had to work on to improve that score. So what really helped with eGMAT was, you made me do a bunch of those cementing quizzes. And after we did each of those quizzes, you actually went back and told me what I needed to focus on. That really helped, firstly, in two aspects. One was, of course, to know where exactly I needed to work on, but secondly, also I had limited time, right, between the attempt I'd already given and the attempt I wanted to give. So I didn't have to go through the whole course again. That was extremely helpful. Yeah, so I think the best takeaway, or what I really liked about eGMAT, was the specific areas it gave me to work on, which I couldn't get elsewhere.
Yeah, so I think you leverage Scholaranium 2.0 to like its absolute potential, right?
For
And
sure.
there's a bunch of features there that are extremely helpful in the same regard to give you the kind of feedback you need. Talk a little bit about all the features that you used and the ones that I used to give you that kind of feedback.
Got it. So, and DJ, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm using wrong words somewhere, because it's been a bit of a small while now, but yeah. So when we started, I think we started off with all of the cementing quizzes, right? So we
Yeah.
went chapter by chapter doing it we did for RC, CR, SC in verbal, and of course the same
Yeah.
thing for Quant. Once we did that, our approach was to figure out what are the areas I'm weak at, right? Or I wasn't doing too well at. So if I had to take Quant, for example, I remember geometry was one area which was weak, and there were some parts of algebra which required more
Yeah.
effort. So we went back to those courses. We did the diagnostic tests there, and after we did those diagnostic tests, I think we came back, did a few more. I think I don't know what custom quizzes, yeah. And then we did our mocks and got to where we were. But I think what I missed out was at the beginning of everything. What you made me do is you actually made me to take a full-fledged mock, because I didn't know where I was at, right?
True.
I'd given the online GMAT, so I really didn't have the report to see where I'd gone
Yeah.
wrong before. So yeah, that was the journey in terms of everything we did and everything we used. And I think what was extremely helpful, DJ, was also not just what eGMAT has to offer, but like being constantly in touch with you. Because I felt like I was, there was someone who was monitoring everything I was doing, and I felt accountable, which I think is crucial.
Yeah.
And the other thing which was extremely helpful was you would keep sending me these short videos, right, about where I can find things on eGMAT, which so yeah, all in all, it was a great experience and super
Got it.
helpful.
So let's touch upon a little bit of everything that you mentioned there. We'll talk
Mhm.
about those little diagnostic quizzes that you took on the new Quant course, right? So tell me a little bit about how important these diagnostic quizzes are to understand, let's say, how strong you are on a topic-wise level for absolute values or inequalities, and how it helped you to kind of go through the course.
Yeah. So honestly, I always thought I was decent at quant, and I didn't know where I would be going wrong, right? Because my score was fairly volatile in quant sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think what that really helped was even absolute values. If I had to really drill down to what part of it I wasn't getting, that's what really helped. So like if I had to give you an example, right, and also when I went back to the new quant videos, right, to see when I solved for absolute values, the best thing was, I think there are like a set of 5 or 7 questions they give you at the beginning, which they make you solve. They take you through the approach to it, and then they give you similar questions but not the same. So you have to be, because I was like, oh wait, it's the same question, I'm going to solve it. This is the answer, but it's really not, because they're like changing it every time. So they're making sure you get the concept right. which I think was great.
Yeah, I think that's the expert architecture, and the new thing that we really brought in with this is that you're right. It's a similar questions with that twist to check if you've understood the application of the things you were weak at. So you can
Mhm.
really fine tune and see where you have actually improved topic wise and very, very specifically. Let's talk about the fact that the first part of this engagement, you ended up with a Q44 and a score that you of course did not want, right? What was your feeling when
Yeah,
that happened? Because you went through a lot of stuff, you did all the right things. What was your
yeah,
feeling?
yeah, yeah. Okay, so this is what had happened, right? So when I came to eGMAT, I had a 49 in quant, and I thought I could get a 50 or a 51 is what I was hoping to get.
Mm,
Um, DJ and I worked together for 2 weeks, or I think a little longer actually
yeah,
over the course of a month, and then I went and gave the exam, right? I panicked. I panicked during the quant section. I remember like not getting 2 or 3 questions, and then I was like, oh, I need to get this, and then by the end of it I didn't have time to finish the quant section,
yeah,
right? And I got a Q44, which was just like, it was very, very disheartening because it was lower than my original score, right?
yeah,
But I think DJ, what really helped was, I was like, okay, fine, it's done, I'm going to apply with a 730, it's not a bad score. But I remember you telling me like, just go and give the exam once again because I know you can do it. And that's exactly what I did, right? After that, I didn't study for the 16-day period. GMAT doesn't let you give the exam again.
yeah.
I just went and gave the exam with a calm mind, nothing else. Like there was no additional prep
I
because
know.
we were
Yeah.
doing well on the mocks, all of it, right? It was all working well. And yeah, that paid off. And yeah, I got the score I wanted.
I think so many other times this happens that you're doing everything right, you were scoring well on everything, you're doing well on
Yeah.
mocks, and then ultimately you didn't do well on the exam. And for a lot of people, it takes that acceptance doesn't come, but that
Mhm.
quality of perseverance that you have and that you had at that given point of time is what kind of really sets you apart. Had you applied with a 730 versus what you're going to apply with now, which
Yeah.
is a 760, it's going to make all the difference. And let me assure you, even in the schools that you're applying to, you can be eligible for those really, really good scholarships. And we're talking about Harvard, Stanford, and Wharton. So I think that 30-point increment was just you doing well on a particular day. And then
Yeah.
metrics and Scholaranium told me that why it's not possible that this particular student has not done well on the test. It just doesn't make sense. It does not add up.
Yeah.
Take me through the little things that we did. So, for example, we also worked on test readiness towards the end. That's something that you may have done earlier, but not
Yeah.
as structured as it should be.
Yeah.
How important was that to kind of score a V44? You were already at a fairly high verbal score. How did that
Yeah.
help you
Yeah.
get to a V44?
So DJ, I think what the test readiness really helped, and especially the way you made me do it was incremental, right? So I remember not doing a full GMAT exam, but like almost the GMAT exam questions, and then the next one was a full GMAT one, but I think the time was slightly constrained. So
Yeah,
what that really helped was to make sure that when I'm giving the GMAT exam, I'm making sure I'm not taking too much time per question, because what happens on the exam days, you get a total time. You don't have a per question time.
true.
So it's very easy to like, at the end be like, oh shit, I have 10 questions and 5 minutes left, right? So that really helped me just have a mental clock in my head and know like, okay, this is the amount of time I can take for this question. I don't know it, move on. And both on the quant and the verbal, I think that really helped, because I think you need to know where to cut your losses in the GMAT more than being like, oh, I have to get this
Yeah.
question right. And I'm grateful for the test readiness for that.
And frankly, that's what changed between the Q44 and the 49. You knew where to cut your losses in the second exam, and I think you
Exactly.
fixed that immediately. But the important thing here is a lot of people use a lot of timing matrices and stuff like that. But the reason why that does not work is that when you look at a timing matrix after every 8 or 10 questions, there's a very real possibility you're going to forget to look at it after 10 questions because you may be doing the 20th question that
Exactly.
completely blows your mind. The good
Exactly.
thing about test readiness is it trains you, I would say, intrinsically and mentally to
Exactly.
kind of save that time. And you already know when you start to spend longer on a question. And that's what it
Exactly.
actually teaches you. In
And
terms of, I would say, verbal as a course,
Mhm.
you've gone through the Scholaranium solutions, you've gone through a bit of the course as well. Talk a little about how it is for a student who's really good with verbal, taking all of that and then using it. And of course, you can say what you were about to say as well.
Yeah. Sorry, what I was about to say, DJ, was the other thing I really liked about the test readiness was it's not a 2 minute per question rule is what it teaches you, even at the beginning of the screen, right? Because every question, it depends on the difficulty. So you can't have that, okay, I can take only 2 minutes. It's just like, you need to have that like a mental thing going on saying, okay, fine, like move on, next one, right? But yeah, sorry, moving to your question about in just how
Verbal,
in
yeah.
terms of how
Yeah.
the verbal course was and things like that. I think DJ, the best takeaway for me for verbal was the error log, which you like. I was so lazy to maintain it. I was like, I am not going to put in this effort because you have to put in the question, you have to put in like what went wrong and why it
It's
went wrong, and you
painful,
need to
no?
understand. It is. And like the thing is, so there was a point where DJ asked me like, send me your error log, and I was like, oh shit, okay, this has to be like, I need to do it for real. But I'm really, really happy that I did that, because even before the exam, I actually just went through the error log, which was, I mean, that's all I needed to go through, right? But I didn't want to go through like the basics of verbal and
Yeah.
things like that. So I think that was my best takeaway. And also, I think there's a whole bunch of video solutions online, which really help, right? And like smaller things on eGMAT, like it tells you where in the video is like an answer to a particular section, because that's all I'm looking for. I don't want to go through the
You
whole
don't
thing.
waste time. Yeah.
You don't waste time. So I really appreciate all of the smaller things, because it really helps you optimize on time, especially when you have work and other things going on.
True, true. I think the error log thing is what I do with a lot of students now, because I
Yeah.
know that I tell them to do it, but then nobody
Yeah.
does it. So I'm like, show it to me. I would like to see it. And then they
Yeah.
start making it. So they
Yeah.
reply like a day or two later. So I know how that works, but it's very helpful. That's why I make people do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this has been super helpful. It's been very short and informative for everybody. So just to kind of sign off in terms of, what would you say to a really high scorer who's sitting at a 710, 720, or 730 in order to kind of improve their score from there and the kind of value it adds as well?
Yeah. In terms of your latter, in terms of the second question, at this point, at least gives me confidence. I'll tell you the real value add in a couple of months. But with the first one, right, I definitely would recommend eGMAT to anyone who's trying to get that last mile improvement, because you don't know what to change, right? You've already gotten a decent score. It's not like you don't know your basics. You're really bad with time management.
Yeah.
So I feel like, of course, like eGMAT will first, of course, tell you where you need to improve, and secondly, you'll have accountability, which is great, because it's easy to say, okay, I have a 730, maybe I don't want to give it again. But like I had you like, like, okay, Saloni, where are you on this? This is what you have to finish by this day. So yeah, both of these things are my key takeaways. Yeah, I think that's about it actually.
Got it. Very helpful and very, very humble of you to kind of give me so much of importance. I've actually started playing a backseat in most of these things because I'm looking at a formula for success, and I just basically did that with you. We're doing a set of things that produce success. And a lot of it has to do with you as well. And I say this in every video that it's the student who knows their stuff, right? Again, 710, 720, 730, you're already a smart person to get that. Getting to a 760 takes just that bit of structure and push from someone else. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's indeed valuable. Thank you again. And yeah, all the best for Harvard Stanford
Thank
walking.
you. Thank you. I'll let you know how it goes.
Absolutely.